Hi everybody, welcome back to Sprueverse, my scale model universe, people of Earth. We are back on the 1-350. Now, if you've been following my channel for a while, you'll know I did a build series, had a mitigated disaster with my stand, and then started to take a hard look at my work and thought, you know what? Not good enough. Not when you sit here and say, this is the one, this is the big mama, this is the one that's going to change my world. Not good enough. Not good enough for me. And so I decided to start again. Now, having said that, I don't want any of you who are watching this to be discouraged by what I'm saying. Sanity is very questionable around here. So take that with a grain of salt. But the reason why I'm going to continue to sort of get in the weeds on some of these updates and tell you what's going on is because I got some amazing email, not just on my Sprueverse Gmail account, but also comments about my last video where I sort of highlighted the fact that I was going to start again. And also on my Instagram account, Sprueverse, where I got some just amazing encouragement. So I just want to thank each and every one of my subscribers, who are awesome, by the way, and just say thank you for that, because I appreciate it. It's good to know that you're interested, and we are all sort of at we're all working at different levels, right? And I've said this 1,000 times, and it's boring to some of you, but to others, not so much, including myself, which is I come to this shop every day wanting to genuinely learn something. I genuinely do. This is not me sitting here going, I'm the pro from Dover, and you're going to learn. No, we're working together. We're figuring it out together. And so, that's what it's all about. It gives me joy to know that a lot of you are encouraged by these videos and want to jump in yourselves. Anyway, enough of me going off. Lots to talk about today. As I record this, it's a Tuesday morning. It is the 13th of June, and we've all just gotten back from Wonderfest 2023. So obviously this will sort of mark the sort of the exciting continuation of this for me, but also I'm trying to come down off of this experience because it was an amazing experience, getting to hang with all my friends. And just a big shout out to a few of you, obviously in no order of importance, except for the first person that I will mention, the great Lou Dalmaso, who is not only a dear friend, but so talented. And I just want to say a big thank you to him. And of course, the great Wayne Green over at World of Wayne. The three of us have become really good friends, and it just means an awful lot to me. And I know how much they mean to a lot of my subscribers as well, who are their subscribers. So we had an absolute blast together, and that was awesome. And of course, there's the great Augie Gonzalez over at Interstellar Modeler, and of course Ken Spriggs, and the inimitable Randy Cooper, and all of the group that we hang with. Big shout out to all of you, and thank you. And each and every one of my subscribers who came up to me to say hello and say how much they enjoyed the channel. And of course, anyone else who I'm not forgetting, I am forgetting. So please, I apologize to each and every one of you because I'm not good with names. Literally, it goes in one ear and out the other unless I hear it 1,000 times. And then, anyway, okay. I am going to be doing a video that's dedicated to Wonderfest as soon as my stuff arrives. My stash got sent to the wind. So I bought a bunch of resin sculpts and some models and some paint and some other stuff and couldn't get it all home with me. So some of it's being shipped. Some of it, the great Ken Spriggs has kindly offered to ship me. I know I've got something coming from Lou, who I bribed to ship it my way. So anyway, a bunch of stuff. So when it all comes together, we'll do a Wonderfest kind of, kind of go through Wonderfest. There's going to be a bunch of videos about the, you know, the model room and the display room and the competition. There's going to be a bunch of stuff. But anyway, for a later date. I want to talk about the 1350, and I know you guys do too. So what I was doing, and I kind of stopped because I realized I wanted all of you to kind of, you know, jump in with me, is I have decided that I am going to go with this setup. Okay, this is my setup, and what I'm going to be doing is, now I'm going to be epoxying this in as well, but I want to show you what this looks like because it's kind of important. Now I know I've highlighted this, I think, before, but I want to do it again because I want to get into the weeds on this a little bit because I know a lot of you want to. So, piece of threaded lighting rod, okay, which goes up into the ship about yay high. Yeah, hang on here. There we go. Boy, this is terrible, isn't it? I'm not... hang on here. Let me go out again there. Hey, I can see it. What do you mean you can't see it? No. So about yay high, because I want, you know, I want a little bit of... now, I've got a little bit of room inside here. And let me show you what I'm talking about. So... in the plug and play that I did on the first kit, you got to chew away at all this stuff, right? You got to chew away at all of it. Not true with this kit. And the more you chew away at, you know, the weaker this all gets, right? So it's got to be low enough that it's below these two supports because my arboretum is going to sit on them. But high enough that I can get really good purchase on my bolts and my washers. And I'm also going to be using a little bit of Loctite, and then I'm going to epoxy the whole thing in. This sucker won't move. It just won't move. Now, the net result of that, of course, is I'm going to be stuck with a pole inside of this. And so that's how I'm going to work. But I'm still going to do what I did last time, which is break it down into its three parts, right? It's going to be secondary hull with pylons and neck. That'll be the one. Nacelles are 2, and of course the saucer is 3. So those are the three parts. But the big thing here is that the wiring harnesses all have to be in here, and I'm going to be doing an awful lot of labeling and connecting because there's a lot of wire that you need to connect all this up. But it's thin enough, the gauge is thin enough that as long as I'm tidy, I'll be fine. Now, what this gets then is this sleeve, which I'm going to paint black. I'm going to scuff it up really good, give it some adhesion promoter, and I'm going to paint it with a gloss black so it's nice and clean. Okay, I'm going to get all of this grease off of it. We're going to do a really nice job of making sure this doesn't chip or flake or what have you. But this becomes my sleeve. So isn't that a fun noise? What is wrong with me? But anyway, there's the sleeve, and that is going to be what it looks like when it's finished. Do you see? And then that'll all be sort of bolted up and tightened up, and it'll be nice and clean. And then of course that goes into the base. But it just means that I'm going to have to work with this. I'm going to have to paint around it. I'm going to have to do as much as I can. Now obviously I'm going to prime it and do all of that first. But there's a reason why I'm making it a little more difficult for myself. And I'm going to explain that to you. right now. Now, what I discovered in venture number one is that obviously we know about the fit issues. Not only are the fit issues, there's some other issues as well. So I've deliberately left things like this so that we can take a look at it. But in doing so, I've discovered some wonderful things. And I'm just checking something here. No, I'm good. I've discovered some wonderful things. But anyway, I have got my Arboretum windows in. Now this is Paragraphic Photo Etch. The great Paul, who I'm really getting to know and really enjoying getting to know him. What an awesome human being. This is his company and it's his photo etch. So that goes in the windows, right? And I've done that on both sides. Take a look. There's my photo etch. Now, I'm hoping what you'll notice is how clean my lines are here. And that we've got a really nice fit. And I've got that on both sides. Here's the other one. And it's a really clean fit. And everything is absolutely solid. Now, what I've been doing is I'm using a little bit of 320 grit sponge paper. And I've just been, if there's any schmutz on this, I'm cleaning it up with this. Now, I'm not pushing very hard, but I am taking off an awful lot of gunk. And you get these really clean lines. And when I'm happy with what I've got, then I hit it with the 600. And that's going to take out any sort of scratches or imperfections that may be in there. And you end up with a really nice clean, a really clean finish. And I'm super happy with that. Now, because we're trying to improve our skills, you'll see here that there's just a little bit of gunk. So don't be afraid to just get in there with the backside of your blade is what I'm using. And I'm just cleaning that up. So that when I go to hit this with a coat of primer, I'm not gonna see any gunk. So, and that's what we'll do. And that's what we'll do with that. And it also allowed me to put these pieces together and really get them nice and clean. Now, I've used, to glue this together, I've used MEK on this seam here. And I was really careful to make sure that I stuck with it and kept it nice and clean. But you can see I'm absolutely perfectly flush. I've got no steps or anything, and that's what you want. And wherever I've got any sort of imperfections of any kind, and there's one piece of schmutz here, because I don't know, sometimes I'm not super careful. There it is, right there. So by simply just taking now I'm not hitting it very hard, but I am hitting it, and I'm going to hit the whole thing. And by doing that, I'm taking off any of that so that I don't get what I got last time, which is, even though you're hitting it with a bunch of coats of primer and everything else, grease from your hands or other schmutz is not your friend. Now, even though this is the bottom of the ship, you know, you want it to be nice and clean, because you're going to be painting this, and you want the finish to be really nice and crisp. You don't want to take off any of the indentations, and we won't, but we do want it to be nice and crisp. And as I'm looking at this, I'm really super happy with this. I think this is the best I can do. Now, I'm also obviously going to get in here with my airbrush, and I'm going to prime this, and then I'm going to do and obviously a light blocking coat in there as well. Now, some of you are going to be saying, Phil, you're never going to get a really nice coat of light blocking black inside of there. You got to do them as pieces and then glue them together. Well, maybe for you, but I know, and you guys know, that any paint on seams and you don't get a good bond. And I have discovered over the years that when you've got big seams like this, I don't care what anybody says, if you don't have clean plastic on plastic, the likelihood that after all the weeks of moving it around and doing all the things you're doing, tipping it up, putting it back, moving it, banging it, whatever, you will inevitably potentially start to see hairline cracks where it's pulled away because it hasn't bonded properly with the plastic. That's what I'm concerned about. I'm not going to have that on this ship. This is rock solid. And because of the way I'm actually constructing this, and because I know my wiring harnesses are so much thinner, I've got a lot more room to work with. So anyway, this is what I'm doing. I could be completely wrong, and all of you out there are going, well, that's not how I did it. Bless all of you. It's how I'm doing it. Okay, so really good, really happy with this. I have gone back to try something. Now, I picked this up, and I can't take credit for it. I picked it up from watching Simon Merck's Papa Smurf. He uses, believe it or not, microscope slides for the glass of the Arboretum. He also uses it in the officer's lounge on top of the saucer. And I'll tell you, with a glass cutter and some patience, it's easy to cut, and it fits in here beautifully, and it's real glass, and there's no distortion. So I think that's going to make a difference. If you're going to work really hard on an Arboretum, you want to be able to see it. And this is sort of the largest window surface we have, other than, of course, the officer's lounge, which is large enough as well for us to see in. So anyway, I'm going to be trying that, and we'll see what we get. Okay, so that's a quick chat about the secondary hull. I'm working on my shuttle bay. I've drilled my holes for my landing lights. There they are, all perfect, and I've tested those, and that works beautifully. So, and I've got my walls all done. Now, full disclosure in this one, when this is all complete, you cannot see very much at the very rear of this thing. You just can't. So you have two choices. You can either get a shapeways piece that I did, but I didn't fall in love with it, that just sits in the front of your shuttle bay, okay, just sits here, and it blocks this up. And then you could, of course, cut this whole piece off and not use it. But I kind of like the dimension and the depth of it when you look in. So I am finishing this, and I'm putting some photo etch on, and I will light it, and I'm going to get the floors in there, and I'm going to get some shuttles in there, and I've got some luggage and some containers and other stuff that I will fill this with, so that when you look down the chute here, there's a lot going on. But I'm going to make the lighting moody and splotchy. It's not going to be super bright in here, so that it sort of looks like it looks functional, but it's not so bright that your eyes are blinded. So anyway, and I'm going to be using steel blue on the floor. Here's the steel blue that I'm using. and I'm going to let that dry. I'm going to dust that with a couple of nice coats, really let it dry, sand it, let it dry. So and then I'm going to obviously hit it with a gloss coat, and that'll be my floor. But what I've discovered is that blue against the yellow of the markings, and even the markings that go in the back, it really pops and it works. And I really like the contrast of it. So so that'll be fun. Don't care if it's Canon. Don't care if it's Canon. I know, but it looks cool. And so it's going to work. It's going to really work. So I'm super happy with that. I have put some light in these posts that I think are they're energy cores of some kind. And I do have light in those. I've got a hole for I've got a hole here. Let me get you closer. I've got a hole here for a wire for the light I'm going to put in my shuttle that's going to be taking off right here. And I've got wires here for these posts. And they're just going to drop below them. And I've put little lights in those. Obviously, these are resisted. So let me get some power on here for you and show you what this looks like. Yeah. There's one. There's two. And let me get you. Hang on. There you go. So they'll sit here, and that blue light in the dark will pop really nicely. Obviously on camera it looks like I've got a bloody great glow at the bottom and nothing going on at the top. But trust me when I tell you, people of Earth, it works. And it'll really add some dimension and some depth and some curiosity to the back of it. So that's fun. And I've done that with those too. Now, because Ralph's board is so ridiculous, and I don't mean that I'm not trying to be rude, or I mean it's ridiculous in an awesome way. Here it is. For those of you who want to be reminded, here's the board. It's a massive board, right? So I've got 5 connection points. So each one of these cables has a connection point and they do something, right? And this is the Bluetooth version for those of you who are following along in the guidebook. And so so what I'm going to do is I'm going to tap in to a couple of the leads for some light that goes to the shuttle bay, right? So I'll take my negative, my ground, and my positives, and I'll trace back to where those lights are supposed to be on his schematic, and I'll just plug into those because it's negligible, but and so they'll come on when the shuttle bay comes on, and that'll work really nicely. Okay, so that is it for the shuttle bay. When we come back, we'll take a look. I will have this all painted up for you. I'll put decals on it, and we'll take a look at that. We'll talk a little bit about some of the some of the sort of plan for how this drops in, because obviously it needs to drop into the secondary hull, right? And so you're going to sort of drop it down. You're going to drop it down and then bring it forward like this, and put it into place, and we should be good to go. And it does sit on its pins quite nicely. I don't want to push it down too hard because I don't want to have to fight. I want to be really careful and respectful of all these pins so they don't snap anything. But this is nice and clean. The other thing I'll tell you is I got lucky with this particular kit because it's not warped, and so I can really get a nice clean finish around here. And as some of you will know, there is this sort of gap in the actual filming miniature. There's a gap between the end of the landing space and the actual exterior frame. There's kind of a cool gap, which makes perfect sense from an engineering perspective. But that sits in there really nicely. And the thing is too is that you know, you're going to have you're going to put this in after obviously your arboretum is in, and after you've put your post in there. So, you know, lots of steps, right? There's lots of things you got to remember to do, and make sure you do them correctly. Otherwise, you're just starting again. And which, you know, I don't know. 6 months ago, the thought of that would have scared me. Now it's just kind of cool. Oh, one other thing I wanted to show you is in all of the kits that I have, you know, you get all kinds of wonky things. And one of them is right here. There's a window here, and there's supposed to be a window right here. I haven't cleaned it up yet because I wanted you to see the fact that I didn't know it was there. And I didn't realize it was there until I actually started sanding with the 320 and realized it was there, because of course I looked in the back and there it is, right? So it's just making sure that you are thorough and clean with everything that you're doing, and you know, we'll get there. Oh, sorry, I'm a little all over the map, and I apologize. Puttying up windows now. I found something that you guys may know about. I didn't know about it. This is light curing putty from Frozen. I'm sure there are other brands, but this is Frozen's brand. This is how it comes. Now, Frozen is the resin 3D printing group. And there's another company called MadWorks. I'm not sure who MadWorks are, but I'm sure they are responsible for this. And what this is it's a can, a little can, full of this paste. It's just a paste. And it has the consistency, I would say, of like petroleum jelly. Okay? That's what it has the consistency of. Now, I don't know if any of you have petroleum jelly at home. And if you do, I don't want to know why. But it has the same consistency. And here's the genius of this. You put this into your gaps, as wide as they are, you know, and you hit it with your light, right? And this will cure this putty the same way you use the light on your solar res, right? Same thing. This light, actually, this flashlight came with my solar res, but you hit this for about 10 to 15 seconds, and it goes rock hard. It goes rock hard. Now, why is this important? Why is it special? Well, I'll tell you why. Because when you fill a gap, and I filled this one right here, when you push it in, you get it all the way in. I use a little bit of masking tape behind it just to sort of seal it up, right? And then I get it mushed in as nicely as I can. Then I just take my finger and I wipe it off, and I get it as smooth as I possibly can. And once I've done that, everything is clean. That's when I hit it. So after 10 seconds, This is cured, rock solid, and it works like a charm, and it's absolutely perfect. Now, the reason why I love that is because I'm not now then having to deal with all that putty, right? Doesn't matter what you use. I don't care whether you're using the water-based putty that you can just wash off with water. Yes, it's good, but it leaves marks, and you have to do it again. Or whether you're using Squadron, or whether you're using Bondo, surface putties, whatever you're using, you're making a mess, and you're sanding and you're sanding and you're sanding to where you get it clean. There's no mess with this, no mess, and off you go. And so I'm a big fan of it, and I'm definitely going to be using this in my arsenal going forward. No question about it. There's always going to be a need for putties but I like this. Not expensive either, guys. I mean, this tub I think costs about $12, but it's going to last a long time. So anyway, I wanted to share that with you because I think it's a great thing. Okay, and speaking of great things, I've been working on the pylons as well. I cleaned those up, and the nice thing about this Ralph's wiring set is you don't have to go crazy with gouging it out. I did make enough of a groove in here to get my wires through, but you don't have to go crazy, and these will be able to go together quite well. And so I'm super happy with that, and they fit really nicely. Now, if there is any gappage at all, I'm going to go ahead and use my light curing putty to fix that. I've got to just clean out this the inside of the phaser banks there, so that I can get that wire light to that, and I've got obviously I've got a piece that sits in here that we'll paint and deal with later. We've got light for both sides of the neck to light up the neck, so that's all good. Nothing super complicated there at all. So I'm gonna go ahead and get some paint on this, and we'll see what this looks like when it's relatively finished and ready to go into the secondary hull. And then of course we'll put that aside. I already have my my arboretum, and I'll show you that as well. That's ready to go. And then we'll start to think about what we have to do to prep this secondary hull so that the wiring harness is already in there. We'll be talking about that as well. And then I've got a cool, nifty little gadget I want to share with you that I found for making labels to keep my wiring rat's nest nice and clean. Okay, so let me do some painting here, and we'll come back in just a sec. Okay, lots going on, and it's been several hours since I filmed the last segment, because when you're building this kit, at least when I'm building this kit, prep is everything. So yeah, we're sanding, we're puttying, we're doing all of those things, but more importantly this time, I'm trying to make sure that where I know I have a seam, or where I know I'm going to have some issues, I'm taking extra time to make sure things are clean. And as you know, I'm trying a different base situation, and I have epoxied my lamp threaded pipe into the secondary hull, and I epoxied that in, and I left that overnight, and I'm really happy with it. It's it's rock solid. So I'll show you that in just a second. I've been working on my version of the shuttle bay. I don't want to light it up like a Christmas tree. I don't want it to be super bright. I want it to be mysterious and interesting. I am going to add a few more elements to it, I think. But in terms of lighting, I'm going to keep it very mellow. But there's a couple of things I wanted to show you because I think they're going to add some extra interest to this. And I haven't candidly thought about doing it. Now, there's a lot of you out there who have. So I'm late to the party, but I think it's going to add an element of interest to this for a couple of reasons, and I'll show you that in a second. But anyway, I've got the shuttle bay together. It's completely light blocked. I did that last night, so it's had a chance to dry. I don't think there are any issues. I have the light on inside here. Here it is. And I'm really happy. Oh, for 30 seconds there, I got a super close up of the. It actually focused on the back, which now it's not. That's a bummer. But anyway, as you can see, I've got my blue reactor cores. I'm calling them the reactor cores in the back that are lit, and they're adding this wonderful glow, this blue glow to the back. I've put a Pico SMD in this shuttle. And I cleaned out the front, and I added a little bit of the Solares acrylic just to give it a window. And so I've got a warm yellow light in there now. So I'm very happy with that. My landing lights are going to flash. I don't have that set up in at the moment, but they are going to flash. But I'm thinking of adding perhaps one more shuttle coming in or something coming in and some crates just to add a little more interest. But here's where I'm taking it to the next step. So when the fantail is on and the landing lights are on, you get this. That's sort of the look. So it does start to sort of close it up a little bit, but that's okay. But what I'm going to do is I want to add a little bit more visual candy. I want to see these bay doors almost closing, right? So let me get this in position here. I'm trying to do this as gingerly as possible. Let me set this down just a second here. Hang on. Let me get you on the overhead here for a second. Actually, I think that'll be better. What I'm going to do is I'm going to actually take these parts. Now, this is the option that you get with the kit, right? This is the option you get to have it closed. So all I've done is I've cut my two sides as if it's opening or closing. We're not sure which. And I am going to obviously paint these up, and I'm going to see if I can get them to cooperate. I've done this once before, and it actually is quite dramatic. Sometimes I try to get things prepped for you, and sometimes I don't. So I apologize for that. Okay. And let me see if I can get the other side in. And this will appear as though these doors are either opening or closing. But here's what I like about this. What I like about this is it adds another element of drama to this. I'm going to gingerly turn it to camera. And I think that's more visually arresting. I think it's really cool. And it adds a spark to it. So that's where I'm going with, and I'm going to have maybe a ship touching down, or not sure, but I'll definitely have some more action going on around this ship. So super happy with that, and that is working an absolute treat. So I love that plan. And again, thinking it through, this is on the list of things from the previous build that I go, doesn't look great, doesn't look perfect, and I had some issues. So one of my issues was I had to build up this fantail. It wasn't as lean as this, it was wider, and I had to use some epoxy putty because I couldn't get the whole thing to seal up. Now, a lot of that had to do with how I actually constructed my secondary hull. And I've gone about that very differently this time, right? Because we're not using all that ribbon wire and having to shove everything in there. We should be able to get a much more streamlined finish. So I'm pretty excited about that. And the nice thing about this Tenor Controls board is that I've got several leads for 3mm LEDs to light some of this up. So a couple of them I'm going to steal, obviously, for my pillars, which I've lit, and for my shuttle. So they'll go on to that, those lights. So they'll be on. If there's a way for me to control that, I'll take a look at my control button options and see if I can put it on a different switch, because it would be really cool to see perhaps everything in dark, but maybe just the landing lights on, or no landing lights and just the blue glow in the back. I don't know. But those options make it kind of fun. And again, it gives you much more of a visually arresting look, I think. Okay, so that's coming along. And obviously, it's going to have to sit in here. And it does fit in. You've got to kind of juggle it in, but it does go. And you sit it down. You're going to sit it down inside. I've gotten this in before, so I know it goes this way. All right. Well, I'm not going to fight with it on camera, but anyway, it goes through, it feeds through, and it sits in here quite nicely because I've had it in before. It's like a Rubik's Cube, but you got to stop and think. And I don't want to do something stupid on camera, so I'm not going to just yet. Okay. So that is going to sit in. Now, obviously, my Arboretum is going to sit on top of that. I've been working on this, but I'm really happy with how this came together. Now, it does make things a little more difficult for you in terms of getting your windows in and working on the inside, because you've closed this up to a certain extent. But I got to tell you, I would much rather do that and take my time and have it be a little more, a little more difficult for me on this side than to sacrifice that and have had, paint in my seams, and fit issues and cleanliness issues, because it makes a difference on the outside. You got to be real careful. Some of this detail, if you sand it off, the only option you have is to get some plastic card to put some of those parts back. And some of it you can't. Some of it is grid lines and some of it is other things. So you do have to try and minimize what you're sanding so that you don't ruin the exterior. And you want that paint finish to be beautiful. You also want that paint to really, really dry. You want it to dry because giving it that extra time to dry only means that your masks are going to sit on this nicely and you're not going to have peel away. So be aware of that. Okay. I think that's more than enough for this update, except one other thing. I did want to show you this, because as you know, we are a bit of a test kitchen here at Spruverse. And when I find gadgets that I fall in love with, I have to share them with you. And I'm absolutely in love with this. It is a Nimbot printer. Now, why do we care, Phil? Well, you don't, except that if you're building kits with electronics and you need to label things and you want to make sure you keep track of everything, you go, yeah, I know, you can take a little bit of masking tape and a pen and you can do all of those things, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if you're into gadgets like I am, and sometimes I can't read my own writing, or I smudge something, or I forget, this is a great way to go. It's a Nimbot printer, and It is wireless, so it goes to your phone. And so what you do is, let me get you on the other head so you can see the phone. And then what I'm going to do is I go to my utilities and I find my printer app, which is Nimbot. Here's my printer app, my Nimbot printer app. And what you do is you hold this down for 3 seconds and you hear it chiming. And then you open your Nimbot and it says device connect, use current supplies, yes. And you tap on that and then it says double click to edit. So you then get a prompt and that allows you to then go to wherever you're going to write. So I'm going to write here because I've got five connection points to this. So I've got C1 through 5. So I'm going to write here C1 blue, right? There it is. Okay, print. There it is. Okay. Then you just tear it off and you have, look at that, C1 blue. And I can put that on my blue lead. And I can you know, you can even trim this, right? Which is great. So you can go there. And now I leave a little bit of a tab on the end there just because I want to make sure that I'm not doing that in camera, am I? So you don't get to see anything. I apologize. So there that is. Okay. And then with my sharp hobby knife here, I just separate my back. There it is. It comes up really nicely. And I can find, let me bring in my board and let me find C1. Here is C1. And I've got a blue and a purple. And if you're colorblind, this ain't going to help you. But there's your blue. And there's a purple, so it is distinctive, but this is the blue lead. And so what you can do is you can take this and you can just simply wrap it around that lead like this. There we go. So I've got C1 blue tagged, and it's not so huge that it gets in your way, but it's going to be a great way for me to make sure that all of my wires stay where they need to stay, because my bundle, guys, is pretty huge. Check this out. This is the bundle for, I'm gonna get you close up here. This is the bundle for everything for this ship. Everything. And I've got blues and greens and yellows, and Ralph's instructions are really good, but you gotta stay on top of all of these wires, right? So keeping everything tidy and making sure that you know what you're doing, because some of it we're going to be able to reduce down to 1 or 2, and so that may eliminate some of these. I'm not sure yet, but this is going to run into the ship, and it's going to go down into the base, and that is going to light this thing of beauty. So as long as you stay organized, keep yourself organized and managed, and just take it slowly, you should be able to get through it. So I'm taking my time, and I'm doing all of those things. So what are we really into now? Well, We've got our arboretum, and I've got a little bit more work to do on my shuttle bay. And I've also got to just take a look at my instructions from my tenor controls board and my tenor controls board instructions, and just make sure that I've got enough channels in the secondary hull for leads that might be coming from the fantail or from the bottom here, because I know there's a couple of blinkies and some fantail lights, red and of course those are for the landing assistance on the top of the fantail frame, and then of course the lights in the bay itself. So I just have to make sure that I've got enough room and they're going where they need to go, and we should be clean. And then once those are all sort of fitted in, then I can get the secondary hull sort of closed up, really, because all I'll need to do is just hook up my pylon lights, which will go up to my nacelles, and the front of this will be open, and that will allow me to bring my saucer down and connect that up to the front, and we won't put the sensor dish on until the very the very front of this won't go on until the very end. We're a long way from home, but I really feel like I've gotten a lot accomplished, and this is really moving along quite nicely. And it's not without its limitations. As I said, it doesn't matter, guys. I've been through 7 or 8 of these kits. They're all the same. There's fit issues, there's cleanup you're going to have to do, and some of it is just, they just never made those improvements. But that's okay. That's part of modeling, and it's part of the fun of this. But the confidence level is so much higher than it was. Okay, so that's this update. In the next update, we'll continue to look at some more details that I've been working on. And also we'll be looking at starting to install some lighting. And of course, we need to also think about a base coat for the exterior of this. We'll also talk about windows. Huge laundry list of things to do, but we're getting there. We're getting there. Okay, so that's it for this update. Thank you, as always, for joining me on this mission. I really appreciate all of your comments, and I do appreciate you giving me the thumbs up and saying, yes, you'd like to see more of this, because hopefully this will give some of you even more of a reason to pull that box out and start building, because that's where I want it, guys. I want it on a shelf display, not in your stashes. You know I do. Okay, until we meet again, I wish all of you, please be safe, be well, build something, and I'll see you next time. Take care, everybody.